You have about 3 weeks left. Right now, in the middle of July, the weeds in your yard are not just sitting there looking ugly. Every dandelion head, every patch of clover, every sprawling arm of crabgrass out there is quietly doing the one job it was born to do. It is loading your soil with next summer's weeds. One single crabgrass plant can drop over 150,000 seeds before the first frost. That is one plant. And while all of that is happening, the sprays and bottles in your garage are aimed at the weeds you can see, not the invasion you cannot. But there is a plain brown powder, cheap as animal feed, and honestly, it mostly is animal feed that shuts that next generation down before it ever comes up. 1 cup on a bad patch. A dry stretch of July weather. That is the whole trick. But stay with me to the very end, because whether this powder wins the war or wastes your Saturday comes down to one thing you must not do in the 5 days after you pour it. And I promise you, it is the exact opposite of what your instincts will beg you to do. I'm Larry Mitchell. For 25 years, I ran the lawn and garden counter at our town's hardware store. And I watched every bag and bottle come across that counter. I saw what folks returned, what they bought again, and what quietly fixed yards for good. These days I keep my own lawn here in Ohio, and my wife Diane will tell you the lawn is my second marriage. Let's talk about the treadmill first, because I stood on the selling side of it for a long time. Every July, the same faces came through that hardware store door. Sunburned, frustrated, holding a photo of a lawn full of clover. And every July, they bought another bottle of spray. The spray worked, more or less. The dandelions browned out, the clover curled up, and for about 3 weeks the yard looked decent. Then August came, and September, and the next May the same weeds were standing in the same spots, and the same folks were standing at my counter. Those bottles were not lying exactly. They kill the weed that is standing there. But a standing weed is one summer's problem. The seeds underneath it are the next 5 summers' problem. And not one spray on that shelf touches a seed that has not sprouted yet. Your soil is holding thousands of those seeds right now, sitting patient in the top inch of dirt, waiting on warmth and water. Lawn folks call it the seed bank, and it is exactly what it sounds like. A savings account of misery, earning interest every season you ignore it. July is when the biggest deposits get made, which is why July, not spring, is when you rob the bank. And keep holding on to that warning about the 5 days after you pour, because that is where nearly everybody goes wrong, and we are getting there. Now, this July powder is one move in a bigger plan, and it is a plan I finally sat down and wrote out for folks just like you. It is called Larry's 30-Day Weed Kill Protocol, the neighborhood pros system for eliminating clover, crabgrass, and every weed on your block. It is the exact day-by-day system I follow to wipe out clover, crabgrass, dandelions, and the rest in 30 days, and keep them from coming back. 88 pages, no fluff, just the plan, written in the same friendly step-by-step style you're hearing right now. It walks you through knowing your enemy, spotting the big 7 lawn killers early and precisely. It walks you through the kill itself, the tools, the products, the safety, the budget, the 7-day elimination blitz, my trusted tenacity system, and organic and pet-safe alternatives that work without harsh chemicals. And it walks you through recovery and dominance, rebuilding thick grass, the prevention fortress, and my month-by-month annual weed prevention calendar. It is $17 right now, marked down from $47, which is less than 1 trip to the store for a bottle and a sprayer you will only need again next year. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time, there is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. All right, neighbor. Phone down, gloves on. Let's go meet this powder. It is called corn gluten meal. It is a golden brown powder, and it is what is left over when a mill grinds corn down for corn starch and corn syrup. Farmers have fed it to cattle and hogs for 100 years. You can find it two ways. The garden center sells it in small bags labeled as a natural pre-emergent, and a pre-emergent just means something that stops weed seeds before they ever come up out of the ground. The feed store sells the exact same powder in a 50-pound sack as livestock feed, usually somewhere around $25 to $35, which works out to a fraction of the garden center price per pound. Same corn, different label. Your money, your call, but I know where I drive. And this is not some old wives' tale. A turf researcher out at Iowa State University discovered this by accident back in the 1980s. He was studying a corn product for a disease project, and he noticed the plots treated with it had grass seedlings failing to establish. The seeds were sprouting and then dying young. He spent years figuring out why, and that why is the exact thing I am saving for the end of this video, because it is also the reason the 5-day rule exists. Hold that thought. We are circling back to it. There is one more thing this powder does while it works, and it is a nice one. Corn gluten meal is about 10% nitrogen. That is 10%, roughly the strength of a gentle organic lawn food. So the same cup that is guarding a patch against weed seeds is also giving the grass around it a slow, soft feeding. Your lawn greens up a shade while the seed bank goes hungry. Now a piece of plain commerce from my counter years. And I say this as a fact of shelf math, not a scheme. We hardly ever stocked this stuff, and when we did, nobody pushed it. A customer who buys one sack that stops weed seeds and feeds the lawn at the same time is not a customer buying 4 different bottles a year. Sprays are repeat business. A feed sack is not. The bag will not tell you this because the bag wants you back next spring. I stood behind that register long enough to watch it happen, season after season, and it never sat quite right with me. So why July when every article you have ever read says pre-emergents go down in spring? Fair question, and the spring advice is not wrong. It is just half the calendar. Weed seeds do not all wake up in April. Crabgrass throws a second flush of babies in late July and August, right after those summer thunderstorms, in every thin spot and along every hot driveway edge. And the fall germinators are worse. Chickweed, henbit, annual bluegrass, and a good share of dandelion seed all sprout in late summer and early fall, when the nights cool off and the rain comes back. Those are the little green invaders that sit low all winter and explode on you in March. A spring application never touched them, because it was long gone by the time they woke up. The July pour is the one that catches them in the crib. That is the detail almost everybody misses, and it is why the neighbor who does this twice a year quietly stops having a weed problem at all. One more reason July is the moment, and this one saves your grass. Those weed sprays in the garage, most of the common ones, carry a line on the label warning you off spraying when it is hotter than about 85 degrees, because in that heat they stress and yellow the good grass right along with the weed. Read the label and you will see it. So, in a normal July heat wave, the spray bottle is half-benched anyway. The powder does not care how hot it is. Matter of fact, you are about to hear why it loves the heat. All right, let's walk through it together, step by step. It is simpler than you think. Step 1. Walk your yard in the morning with a cup of coffee and really look. Find every patch where weeds run thick, every thin spot, every edge along the driveway and sidewalk where crabgrass creeps in. Drop a golf tee or a plastic fork at each one so you can find them again. Step 2. Check the weather forecast before you touch the bag. You are looking for a stretch of 5 dry days after your pour day. 5 dry days. In an Ohio July, or most anywhere in the country in July, you will not wait long. This step is not optional, and the reason why is the payoff I promised you. Step 3. Measure. For a single bad patch about the size of a trash can lid, you want 1 cup of corn gluten meal. 1 cup, a regular kitchen measuring cup, level, not heaping. For a whole lawn, the rate is 20 pounds per 1,000 square feet. That is 20 pounds for every 1,000 square feet, so a 50-pound feed sack covers about 2,500 square feet, which is a decent front yard. Step 4. Pour it on dry grass, on a calm morning with no wind. On a patch, pour the cup slow and spread it around with your gloved hand until it sits even, like coarse cornmeal dusted over the ground. For the whole lawn, a broadcast spreader on a low setting does the job in a couple of passes. It is only ground corn, but wear gloves anyway, and give it a quick sweep off the sidewalk when you are done so it feeds the lawn and not the ants. Step 5. Water it in, lightly, 1 time. About 1/4 inch, which is 10 or 15 minutes under a normal sprinkler. 1/4 inch, no more. That 1 drink washes the powder down against the soil where the seeds are and switches it on. Step 6. Now shut the water off and leave it alone. 5 days. No sprinkler, no irrigation timer, nothing. If your system runs on a clock, go turn it off today. Take your time. There is no shame in reading the timer manual on the porch. Those 5 dry days are the whole ballgame, and in a few minutes you will understand exactly why. Before we go on, let me gather that up in one breath. Mark the patches. Wait for a dry forecast. 1 cup per patch, or 20 pounds per 1,000 square feet. Spread it dry. 1/4 inch drink, then 5 days of nothing. Now the safety talk, short and honest, the way I gave it across the counter. Once that powder is watered down into the turf, kids and dogs can be back on the lawn the same day. It is corn. Cattle eat it by the scoop. But 2 warnings, and I mean both of them. First, keep it out of any vegetable bed or flower bed where you are about to plant seeds. And second, the big one, do not put this anywhere you plan to spread grass seed in the next 6 weeks. This powder cannot tell a crabgrass seed from a Kentucky bluegrass seed. It stops them both, no favorites. So if fall overseeding is on your calendar for that section of lawn, skip that section. That is 6 weeks of separation. Minimum. And as always, whatever product ends up in your hands. Read the bag, follow it, and for the big jobs, call a licensed pro. I ran the counter for 25 years and I will still tell you that. Now, some honesty, the thumbnail on this video cannot fit, because thumbnails never can. This powder will not kill the dandelion that is already standing there grinning at you. Nothing that gentle kills a grown weed with a taproot like a carrot. The standing weeds get handled the old-fashioned way, and it is easier than it sounds. Wait for a rain when the soil is soft as cake, and pull them with a $10 dandelion fork, taproot and all. It comes out like a nail out of wet wood. For clover, an iron-based spray off the shelf knocks it back without harming the grass. And it is one of the gentler options for homes with pets. For anything tougher, there are spot sprays that do the job. And the label on the bottle will tell you the temperature rules and the pet rules better than any video can. Here's the thing though. That standing dandelion takes you 4 seconds to pull. Its 10,000 children in your soil are the actual war. The bottle industry sells you the 4-second problem every single year. The powder ends the 10,000 children problem. Do this pour in July. Do it again next spring. And by the 2nd or 3rd season, that seed bank account runs dry because you stopped every deposit. That is the honest version of forever. Not one magic morning, but a cycle, broken for good. Which brings us to the promise I made you at the very top. The 5 days. The one thing you must not do, and why your instincts will fight you on it. Corn gluten meal does not poison a seed. That researcher at Iowa State proved it. What the powder does is stranger and better. It carries natural corn proteins that stop a sprouting seed from growing its very first root. The seed still wakes up. It still sends up its little green shoot, running on the lunchbox of energy packed inside the seed itself. But underneath, there is nothing. No root. No straw into the ground. That seedling is now a plant living on borrowed time, and it needs exactly one thing to survive: a drink of water it can pull in through its leaves and stem while it scrambles to grow a backup root. Deny it that drink for 4 or 5 hot July days, and the sun does the executing for you. The powder never kills a single weed. It just takes away the canteen and lets July do what July does. Now flip it, and you will see why half the folks who try this call it a miracle, and the other half call it junk. If it rains hard in those first days, or if your sprinkler timer kicks on at 5 in the morning because you forgot it, that rootless seedling gets its rescue drink. It hangs on, it throws down new roots, and it survives. And it gets worse than survival because remember, this powder is 10% nitrogen. Water it in those 5 days, and you have not just spared the weed. You have fertilized it. You paid good money to feed the very invader you were trying to stop, which is exactly what happened to every frustrated customer who ever slammed a half-used bag on my counter and told me the stuff was worthless. It was never the powder. It was the water. The water decides everything. And that is also the final reason this is a July trick, and not an April one. In April, you cannot buy 5 dry days in a row. In July, you can hardly avoid them. The old-timers did not know the chemistry, but they knew the calendar, and the calendar was right. And that right there is the difference between spraying the same weeds every summer for the rest of your life and being done with the whole fight. Today you got one chapter of the war. The entire campaign, day by day, from identifying what is out there to the kill to keeping your lawn a fortress, is written out in Larry's 30-day weed kill protocol. $17, marked down from $47. And it does not evaporate in August like the bottles do. Every season you wait, the seed bank collects more interest, and the shelf collects more of your money. If you are tired of that trade, this book is the one thing I would hand you across the counter. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time, there is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. So remember it plain. 1 cup per patch, 20 pounds per 1,000 square feet. Poured in July on dry grass. 1/4 inch drink, then 5 dry days. And let the sun finish the job. Now tell me in the comments which weed is winning in your yard right now. Clover, crabgrass, dandelions, name it. I read every single one. And next time I am going to show you the one September weekend that decides whether your grass comes in thick as carpet next spring or thin as an old sweater, including the 4-day step almost everybody rushes. And it is the only step that matters. You've got this, neighbor. I'll see you out on the lawn.